My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Center Hill Road, Acre, Mississippi, 38841. I am under attack by Scientology. So, from what I have experienced, there's more space in the universe than humans can see. There are 11 dimensions. These dimensions reside within the particle itself. So, inside of the particles in which we are made of resides 11 dimensions. We have biology in these extra dimensions. We utilize this biology to have an afterlife. So what happens is when we die, we literally pull into ourselves. You can consider our third dimension as a shell. And when we die, we face the other way. We literally grab all the particles in which we consist of and pull them in the opposite direction. And then we face the other way. So while we are among the living, we face this way. We face forward. When we die, we literally turn around and face the other way. And then we fly into outer space. The human genome produces an 11-dimensional organism with a head covering. It usually has horns. We have a soul tube. We have these waist tubes that come out of our feet. We have short arms and big hands. We look like a ghast or a ghost. We are literally designed to fly through outer space. This sounds crazy, but this is what I have observed. There's also an entanglement property between our third dimension and our inner dimensions. If any if any piece of our interdimensional biology is removed from us, we are still in this biology, no matter how far away it goes from us. The same goes for any particle in the universe. If energy from within the particle is removed, it still acts as if it's attached. There's an entanglement property. What happens is no matter how far away this this body part goes from you, what happens is if a piece of biology is removed from you, space time starts to shrink and warp in between the removed biology in an attempt to keep that energy within the particle. If you remove energy from within the particles, it becomes destroyed. The universe won't allow it to happen. So space time warps and changes size in an attempt to keep this energy inside of the particles. Scientology is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology before we die. They remove it from themselves and they use technology and techniques to turn it into an upper dimensional vehicle. So while they are among the living, they remove their extra dimension and they turn it into one or more vehicles in which they can drive around in the upper dimensions. To do this, they use technology and technique. First off, one of the techniques and technology that they use is a remote storage system for their biology. So because of this entanglement property, they like to remove upper dimensional brain tissue and central nervous tissue. They like to remove brain stems, our thalamus, and their eyes, and they put it into a pod or a little box in which they install into a computer system. From there they use electrodes and sensors and devices to interface themselves into a computer system. From there, they can communicate with each other and interact with each other in a digital landscape. This computer system also acts as a command center in which they can access the upper dimensions and drive their upper dimensional biology. Then they also use devices on their third dimension, the part of them that's left whole. So they use devices and sensors and things and interface it to their brain and central nervous system. This also acts as a communication device, recording devices, and then uh, a phone service. So they can isolate individual memories and neurons and thought patterns, and then install technology on this brain tissue and stimulate this brain tissue. So they can make you experience a memory or a thought pattern. They can stimulate the emotional center in your brain. So they can make you cry or feel joy. They can also stimulate other areas of the brain and central nervous system. They can even have sexual relations with each other. They also have devices that record our vision, our hearing, our taste, our smell, our touch. They call this a preservation device. It preserves your vision. This technology also artificially stimulates neural tissue. So they can send energy through your neurons and it elevates neurochemistry, stimulates neurochemical production. So it elevates neurochemicals like dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, which has an extremely narcotic-like effect upon the user. Yes, they won't let me sleep again. They woke me up. This technology also allows them to create surrogates, so they can drive other humans other than themselves, other organisms. They can drive humans, animals, insects, and worms. Getting victim shamed. They're saying I've done something wrong. It somehow excuses their criminal behavior towards me. So I got forced to assimilate 13 years ago. These people kidnap people. They exploit people. They traffic humans. They like people with influence, authority, or power, or just people they are attracted to in general. They even choose people for sexual purposes. So I was a political activist on social media. I was very political, participating in politics a lot. We discussed elected officials, lawmaking, policy, environmental issues, and we participated in politics. So we persuaded elections and lawmaking, policy, and things of such. I'm also an author. I write a lot. So I inspired a lot of people. I inspired a lot of people to write their own literature. So the Scientology community, or people in the Scientology community, they forced me to assimilate, which means they stole brain tissue and installed devices into my brain. I started hearing voices. People started trying to control me, told me what to do, how to do my job. It didn't go too well. I did not accept their advances. They became hostile. They started threatening my life and my liberty. Eventually, I started yelling at them. Then it became apparent that the world, the public, was invading my privacy. People in all institutions started communicating with me, especially media personnel, marketing companies, social media, big businesses, even the government, politicians, government agencies like the FBI, the CIA, the military. When people started stealing my intellectual property, the things that I was working on and writing and studying, other people in the world started using this same information for their own works, either magazine articles or uh, podcast and media content, things like that. As time went on, I became very ill. I started to get weak and sick and dizzy. I could feel things shoved deep inside of my ear, my face, and my head, my neck. I started going to the hospital to get x-rays done. They couldn't see anything. I could feel it. It was there. Communication was hostile. A lot of these people harassed me day after day after day. And as time went on, people stole more and more of my intellectual property. I wrote Crazy Bird comics. I wrote the Environment Creation Agency. I wrote Divine Currency, Alien Bob, Bug Bob, and several other stories. Then they started to install more technology. So one day I woke up and I seen things out of my head. They gave me a screen and devices and other things. I started hearing voices. A lot of them were hostile. They were threatening my life and my liberty. And then they started stealing body parts. They started taking brain and central nervous system to use for transplants. So these Scientologists, when they create their upper dimensional biologies to drive, they are no longer whole. They have to utilize organs and tissues from other humans and other species in an attempt to make themselves function properly. So they use organs and tissues from humans, reptiles, insects, and worms. So they make an alien form. They also make a lizard person out of their biology. They make insectoids or bug people out of their biology. And they make worm people. They tried to take brain tissue out of my head and use it for a transplant. They tried to harness my ability to create and write literature and my intelligence. They became so attracted to it that they wanted to utilize it themselves. So as time went on, they took more and more biology, all of it, brain tissue, central nervous system tissue, my muscles, my bones, everything. Some of it they used for transplant purposes as a body part for themselves. Some of it they used for surrogate purposes. So they're trying to put my tissue on another organism and drive that organism. Some of it they are installing into their machines so they can have access to it that way. And some of it they're using for torture devices. You can actually torture someone from a remote location using a piece or all of their biology, all of their extra dimensions. They torture me 24/7.